There we go. Right, what's happening, guys? No sounds, lads. Literally, that's what I was doing. Normally we leave it muted until we get a few folk in here, but we are now unmuted now. Let's what's happening, guys? Cameron Selkirk, Craig, R32, Scott B, Robert Paisley. What's happening, guys? Let us know how you're doing. I mean, shite result today, but apart from that, how have you all been? Let us know. Great to have you in here. We're going to be discussing all things Rangers, and then we'll talk about whatever else comes up. We're just going to go and take it as it comes. But hopefully you're all having a good weekend, guys. Let us know what you're up to. If you have any questions for myself or Jack before we get into all things soccer ball, do let us know. But great to have you guys in here once again. And man, it's a fun time. Got Jack in here. Jack, how you been lately then, mate? What's been the script?
Been good, mate. Just away in London, obviously. I said that last week. Nice wee deserved break. And although my feet didn't get much of a rest, but nonetheless it was good, and it was much needed. So yeah, I'm back now, back to reality, back to work. So
my good friend Jack was going for the world record for breaking the number of steps in a day. And what was it that you managed? 35k, was it?
35k.
Unbelievable scenes right there. And he's putting in some work there, you know what I mean? 35k, that must be equivalent to what?
I think it's like 20 something kilometers. I don't know how much, but
oh my god, 20 kilometers.
It didn't track like going down into the underground or that, so I don't know.
Oh right, so it could well be like 37k or something ridiculous like that, mate. What were the main sites you got to see then? What were the main attractions that you enjoyed?
Mate, I actually went to Buckingham Palace for the first time.
I saw that. That was class.
I've never been for some reason. I don't know why, because I go to London quite a lot, but usually we hit up with museums and stuff. That's our kind of thing. It's our favourite thing, probably. But it was weird with the masks on and the kind of the social distancing restrictions and stuff. But it was absolutely roasting as well. It was like 30 degrees, so
crazy. It looked like you had an absolutely splendid time. Some really good food as well. Where was that seafood joint that you went to?
Oh, Sexy Fish, mate. Unreal.
Sexy Fish. Imagine that for a name for a seafood restaurant, eh?
It was heavy posh, so I don't know. It was good, but it was so expensive, mate.
Yeah. I mean, I can only imagine. Great to have you guys in here once again. Jack is just rattling off his wee breakaway, a well-deserved, well-earned break. He was away racking up the steps, 100,000 steps in total, something along those lines. And he was trying to, for every step he was trying to take, he was trying to count one fan that went and turned up for the UEFA Cup final in Manchester. But anyway, we've got Mr. Loyal Hadji once again, Philip Bayer. What's happening, guys? Scott B, disappointing result. Don't mask your feelings about it today. Oh, don't you worry, we will be letting it all out. Listen, this for us is going to be a fucking wee punching bag, eh? This little stream right here, we're going to be absolutely fuming. Listen, it'll be a calm discussion. We'll have our opinions, debates, agreements, whatever it may be. We'll chat football as usual, chat a bunch of nonsense, so hopefully you guys did enjoy it as well. Cameron Selkirk, great question. If Amazon did a TV show like they have done for Spurs about Rangers, would you watch it? I'd want to see if Gerrard gets into the players after a result like that. I mean, Jack, I don't know about you, but I think everybody would watch it, but the only concerning thing about it is would that come under maybe selling your soul to the devil, perhaps, Jack? I mean, obviously there's a lot of money in it, but you're sacrificing a lot in terms of the way, how the dressing room dynamics and the way the club does business. Would you want that kind of thing to be public and out there?
I think it would be such a tough watch, honestly. I think we would get fuming beyond belief. I think, as well as some of the Spurs supporters, they don't like the way it's kind of set up, because you can easily turn a documentary into kind of, for them, Daniel Levy propaganda for their chairman or whatever.
Yeah,
so
that's
I think however you frame it, to make certain players look bad, to make certain people look bad or whatever. But I think it would be really brutal for us to watch after certain losses, or it depends. I mean, after a Hibs game like today, I don't know if I could even watch it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I've had enough already. Do you know what I mean? I've had enough of it. I've had enough of the nonsense. So I don't know if I could handle some certain players or whatever, or even Gerrard himself. I think it would be a bit of a shock. I think it'd be a wee bit of shock as to how actual changing rooms work and kind of how the dynamic works. But it's not something I really want us to do in any time soon.
No, I'm with you there. I mean, before I even build on that, Jack, I think we've got to turn that frown upside down in tonight's stream. We're gonna have to do that with every other Rangers fan in here as well. There's still so much football to be played. Plenty. Yes, there are lots of disappointing things we'll move on to, but lots of football to be played. We've still got our Europa League tie or qualified tie on Thursday, so. Yeah, at least the games are coming thick and fast for us. Robert Paisley was great till the match. Lack of passion, leadership, hunger, physical side of things. We need to start getting stuck in more. Final third is poor, and defence was worse today. 2 bad goals to lose. I mean, we'll build on that as well. But Jack, just based on what Robert Paisley says there, would you agree with that sort of diagnosis of the match?
I think that. The main thing I saw as soon as the lineup came out, obviously because of injuries, is it looked like the team we put out last year. It was like a last season's team.
Yeah.
You know, when Arfield and Kamara and Davis all playing midfield, I looked and I went, yeah, that's not that good.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the amount of injuries is unfortunate, but I think it's underlying something that we've been saying for the last few weeks, and that's just we need depth. We need that number 8 in midfield, like a Lundstrom or whatever.
Yeah.
Someone who can come in and make a difference. But I think it's unfortunate because it's shifted Haji out to the right, playing right winger when he's obviously not his position, but he's still done relatively well instead of numbers. In case, you know, obviously 3 assists and a goal in the last two or three games. So
yeah,
I think that as soon as I saw the team sheet, I thought, yeah, this is just like last season.
Yeah. No,
our bench is better, but only when the players are not injured. So you need a wee bit more depth. I mean, there's no one on the bench today that I saw. Geez, they could come on and make a difference. I mean, Jordan Jones, I was like, oh, he's like another Barker, but I mean, he doesn't even get games. And then you're thinking Defoe, I mean, really, and then Itton's young, and then after that, I mean, it's kind of nobody really.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd agree with that. I think. I mean, it was a bit disappointing because I agree the team lineup we saw wasn't really any sort of change from what we've seen last season, and you know you go into the game wondering a little bit how are we going to play, and I think as well, just a word on the squad depth there. It's a wee shame. It's a bit of a shame, I think, because you know we made some very good signings, I think, but still. We need signings to be able to get themselves integrated into the starting 11 week in, week out, and I wouldn't say we've really achieved that yet in terms of somebody that's come in and made this a starting 11 jersey, like made it theirs, if you know what I mean. Like we've signed a lot of players that can come on from the bench, and that Roof, I suppose, is the only one that's really been starting for us. But aside from that, Jack, I think we need players in the midfield, like you identified, and another attacking midfielder at least, because we are short in that area. And I was wondering myself, why isn't Gerrard making any changes here? He only made 2 in the 90 minutes. But then, like you said, looking to the bench, there's what do we really have there that can change a game? Not all that much. Cedric Eaton comes on, Jermaine Defoe comes on, and that is about all we've got. We don't really have any midfielders that can come on and change the dynamic of the game right now. So yeah,
I think it's easy to say or blame it on physicality or lack of, but in reality, you just have. In terms of tactical, you've got 2 players in midfield, Kamara and Davis, doing the exact same thing. I mean, in a game, you don't need that. I mean, as simple as that. So I understand that it's because there aren't players there, but then if Jack was there, how much a difference that made? Do you know what I mean? We really do lack that midfielder who can do both, and that isn't Aribo, because Aribo is more of an attacking player, and that isn't Haji because he's more of an attacking player. So you need someone who can come in. Isn't Daniel Johnson either, because he's just an attacking player as well.
Yeah.
You need someone who can come in to do both. Yeah. And that, or I'm not saying to be the best attacking, best going forward. I'm talking someone who can actually play a pass forward, break the lines, and put a foot in as well. So I just don't think we have anyone, especially between Kamara and Davis, that can do that. I think Kamara has a lot more bad games than good games, but when he plays, he is really that kind of player. Plays great and then really bad. I mean, there's no in between with them. Davis, I was really impressed the first 3 matches this season. I thought that today he was poor. Yeah. I don't know if it was a symptom of the rest of the team and the kind of way we were set up. I thought he looked a bit disjointed, or if it was him having a poor match. So yeah. I don't know if I would blame it on lack of physicality. I blame it more on just our lack of depth in general. I don't think we hesitated. But at the same time, we did take a beating from some of the players, the Hibs players.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see a bit more going back. And I thought, do you know, who's played quite poorly recently? I thought Barisic actually played quite poorly in the last few games. I think, I mean, really, compared to I thought Tav looked great again today. And I think that Barisic just kind of looks like a shadow of himself, but he is a real confidence player, and I think he lacks it right now.
Yeah, I think those are all very sensible points, particularly on the midfield area. I think you're definitely right in that I'm looking at Steve Davis, Glenn Kamara and Ryan Jack, all of them there. I don't really see any difference. They all offer pretty much the same thing in that midfield. We need that. We need something else to come in. We need someone to come in there and change the dynamic of the game when needed. Say we are 1-0 down at half time and we've got Glenn Kamara and Steve Davis in the park. We need someone to come on from the bench to offer us something different going forward. And I think I'm with you on that. We just do not have that right now. So we badly need a midfielder to come in.
Yeah, it's quite simple if you look at it like this, because you've got your number 10s, you've got Haji and Aribo. Whoever you think is better is up to you, but they're both our number 10.
Yep.
And then at number 6 you've got Jack, Kamara and Davis. In between you've got absolutely nothing.
Yep.
I mean, there's no number 8 there to play. I mean, there really is no one that can do both.
Something. Sorry, Karen.
No, that's it.
We'll get to some of your messages there just in a wee sec, guys. But the point I just want to make as well, I know it's a totally different league and all that, but I was just watching the Liverpool game earlier, and at half time Chelsea were down to 10 men and John Henson came off for Liverpool, but then they've got Thiago to bring on. It's like, obviously I'm not implying that we go out and get we could get somebody like that. The point I'm trying to make is that Thiago is a totally different player to what Liverpool had in their midfield already, and that's exactly what I think is needed in terms of the midfield. Like you already said, Jack, the kind of players we have in the midfield, Glenn Kamara, Ryan Jack, Steve Davis, they all do very, very similar things. They all play that holding role at the base of the midfield, but when we need to change it up, we don't have anyone there on the bench, or even anyone else really, because like you say, Joe Aribo and Haji are number 10s, so somebody in that number 8 role, or somebody that can do both, going forwards and backwards as well, somebody box to box, or just somebody who's got a bit more, who offers a bit more going forward. So definitely with you there, mate. Let's just have a wee quick look at some of the messages here. Post-match interview, Gerrard, very, very down. I think so. I think he summed everything up there. It was a poor performance, but defensively, we were just all over the shop. Need a box-to-box midfielder, Cameron Selkirk says. I think that's basically what me and Jack are saying right here. I think we're missing something on the right as well. Haji's not a right winger. Jack, what's your thoughts on that one? I think in Ryan Kent, we've got a fantastic, top-quality left winger, and his form for us has been magnificent, but we're just missing, I think, somebody on the right-hand side to really complement that. We do have a couple of wingers in the club, but whether or not they're up to standard is up for debate. But Jack, do you think we could do with something fresh on the right hand side?
Yeah, it's like it's the same thing we rehash every single week. We say even against Dundee United when you're in 4-0 or 5-0, it could be 6-7-0, whatever. You can notice what is going to be an issue in the future, and so when you come up against decent teams like Hibs or whatever, you're going to struggle. And that's what gets proven today. Again, you put Haji out there and you try and force him into a position that he's obviously not suited to. He's not fast. He's not naturally blessed with pace. And he's completely different from Kent in a sense that he's not got slow feet, but he's more suited to the middle of the park into the byline. I mean, being 2-footed, it suits him. It is good. But it's just the same things every week. We need a right winger who's, like we said before, the gap between Kent and the right winger or Kent and the next winger is just huge. I mean, it's an abyss. It's genuinely massive. So you really need someone who can come in, even if it's on loan, who's, I'm not saying of an exact same standard, but a similar standard to Kent. Someone who can actually contribute. Because the way I see it, have we improved on Candace and Murphy or whoever it may have been before? Not really. I don't know if we have or if we went down in terms of that. Kent is the only one you can notice on the wings. So yeah.
Jack, are we missing somebody like Daniel Candace on the right hand side?
Well, would I like to see him on the bench? Probably, but is it really what we need? No, I still think we need better than both.
Yep.
Because, like I said before, it used to be that Murphy and Candace. Murphy could beat a man down the byline and cross, and he wasn't that good at crossing, and he could shoot and score quite a lot. Murphy was a decent goal scorer.
Aye.
And then obviously in terms of physical, he was terrible. In terms of being a press, he could never press for a team like us anymore.
Yeah.
And then you had Candace, who could press and he could cross it, but he could never beat a man. He could never score. Apart from the odd fluky goal, of course. But you had, again, it was the same. It was almost the same parallel to a midfielder. We had a player on the left wing like Murphy who could do A, which was beat a man and score, and we had a player on the right wing like Candace who could just cross it, and that was B. And now you've got Kent on the left, or wherever he plays, and he can do both. But you need another winger who can do both as well, and you need another player who can do both. So it's as simple as that. Really, it's not that hard to figure out.
Yeah. No, some very good points there, Jack. You need a big hatchet man, a ball-winning, no-nonsense midfielder or a player sadly lacking today's football. Big physical striker, bully type, aerial threat, etc. All cross balls. The opposition wins every time. From Robert Paisley there. I think, your no-nonsense kind of man, we do need somebody in there that can lead by example and use their physicality and presence, because right now in the midfield I don't think we have that. But in terms of a big physical striker, I think that's what we're looking at in terms of Cedric Eaton. He's a big frame, big lad, and we're hoping he can kind of fill that role right there. Mr. Loyal Hadji, does Big Ballo make a return? Good question. Do you reckon he deserves a chance now that, for me, Hollander bullied a wee bit too easily for the second goal there? Do you think Balogun makes a return to the starting 11 at all?
I don't think so. I actually thought Hollander played quite well until then. I thought, like, in the first half, I thought he was making some good challenges. I don't think you disrupt the back line. I feel like Gerrard does that too easily, especially when it was with Katic and stuff. If you drop players, I think that can do more damage than actual good.
Yeah.
I feel that you keep the back line. The main problem for me is where it stems from, and that's midfield, like we said over and over again. And to be honest, it goes right to the forward line as well, because you get Hadji, who is not through his own fault, but you don't have a player who can press on a right wing to the same capacity as Kent does. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just due to pace. So your defending starts from up there. So especially the pressing and stuff. So I think it actually has more to do with if you've got Kamara and Davis in front, and Arfield as well, you're looking at quite a sluggish group there. I don't think it's one that suits either playing out from the back or defending either. So I know the point that people are trying to make is that we need some physical guy, but it's not actually the case if you play through teams. How many of the teams in Man City's and Liverpool's and all that have a big bruiser in midfield? It's not like Wanyama anymore. Yeah. You don't really need that. We could have kept Ross McCrory for that, but the point is that we shouldn't need that. We should be able to play through teams, but with the team that we put out today, I don't think we actually can.
Yeah, that's not to be fair. That is a very, very good case right there. Very good points made as well. Couple of wee suggestions here in terms of players we could recruit from Cameron Selkirk and Mr. Loyal Hadji. We've got Harvey Elliott on loan potentially, as suggested by Cameron. Jacob Murphy from Loyal Hadji, and possibly Troy Deeney. Now, Deeney, if Morella stays, there's no real justification for Troy Deeney in my eyes, but Jacob Murphy could be an interesting one. He's played at a decent level. He's playing the Championship right now, isn't he? And Harvey Elliott, obviously good pedigree, playing at Liverpool, albeit not in the starting 11. Jack, what's your reaction to suggestions from the lads in terms of bringing those three in potentially?
Deeney, I wouldn't touch Deeney. I think our striker group's the strongest that has been in a while anyway. If you keep Morales, and even if you got rid of Morales, I still wouldn't take Deeney in. I think we can do better. In terms of the other two, I think the improvements on what we have. Yes, I always kind of like Jacob Murphy in a way. I just don't know if we have to be signing players who are, and I'm not saying we should be signing players from top 10 teams in England or whatever. I'm saying we should be signing players who are actually consistently good on a decent on a consistent basis. Because this is our most important season. I don't think we can really rely on loan signings or young players And I don't think we can rely on players who have struggled at other teams or come as a bit of a project. Even in the sense that when Kent first came, like I don't think we can have another Kent in the sense that we have to let them bed in and whatnot. We have to have players that can come in and hit the ground running. And as much as another Kent would be great and stuff like that, but we don't have 2 or 3 years. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We even really have 6 months.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'd be looking for someone that you might have to put a bit of cash on. I'd rather put a bit of cash on a number 8, but I wouldn't mind as long as there really are an improvement on what we have. But it has to be a significant improvement because I don't think our right wing area, and even if Kent got injured, for example, I mean, I couldn't even imagine how bad we would be.
That would be detrimental. I think we need another winger as well. Somebody, like you say, that's maybe not the finished article, but does have a good pedigree already, who is playing regularly in the first team and has proved themselves as a first team player. And you're right, we just do not have the time to spend to work with prospects and bring players in on loan. And yeah, you're right about Ryan Kent as well, because look how long it took to really get him up and running. So we need somebody for the now, somebody who's already playing and can come in and do a job for us, who's got a good pedigree as well. So did you see the supposed Bozangi Zungu move could be back on? There's been a bit about that, but I mean, there is no smoke without a fire. But I mean, that's been going on for a good few months now, and how close are we really going to get to that? Did you see, or what's this? What's the issue with Tav and Porteous? Heard there was a wee incident after the game. I'm not entirely sure. I saw a couple of things on Twitter, but I'm not sure as to how true they are. Jack, any info on that one at all?
Yeah, I don't really know the ins and outs, but I don't mind. I don't mind if our players are fighting back or whatever. I don't have a problem with that at all, to be honest. I think that it is good, but I'd rather done it on the park, to be honest.
No, exactly. And what's the good in doing it in the tunnel? Why not fight your corner on the park and really show what you're about? Look, it might have been just a wee bit of afters, but still, let's see that aggression on the park. Let's see it when we're attacking those 50-50s and so on and so on. Right, great to see so many faces in here. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It is an absolute pleasure to have you in the stream if you haven't already. But we will we'll get to. We've not even really broken down the game or anything yet. We've just kind of looked at it from the top down. But why don't we break it down a wee bit now? Jack, starting lineup, we come into the game with what looked like a full strength squad. Let us down a wee bit in terms of the result, but I don't know about you, Jack. See, when we conceded the first goal, I thought we reverted to this kind of, it just seemed to me we were panicking a lot. Prior to conceding the goal, I thought we created a couple of decent chances, but after that, I just thought we were just lumping balls up, trying to look for anything and more hit and hope. What do you think? What do you think about our reaction to when we went 1-0 down?
Well, we started well, but then obviously after we conceded, like you said, I mean, we have this tendency just to revert to some kind of, I don't know. We sit so deep, and it's like, I don't know what kind of team we are. We started games quite recently with really high tempo, and then as soon as that goal went in, you really see the difference in the mentality of women players of just, I mean, really slow sideways, that kind of thing that we're so used to, and it's something that we all hate. And that, the risks, we had zero risks after that kind of goal went in. We took zero risks, and you have to take risks to score. And I think if our players' mentality is hindered by one goal, I mean, I know that the clean sheet was very important, but to be honest, it doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
So you need to go out there and take risks and try and break the lines and stuff like that. And I just don't think they could do that. The mentality, obviously, we got the goal close to the end of the first half, so. But before that, I thought we looked terrible.
Yeah, I completely agree. I just thought we were panicking so much when we conceded. It almost looked like we were trying to, we just the creativity just seemed to have left us. Passes were going astray, and we weren't really the movement that we had just wasn't really happening at all. We were hitting balls up. It just it was disappointed to see us react in that manner, and I thought it was the same thing as well, Jack. When we went 2 down, I thought we were just. I made this clear in the video that I uploaded earlier that when we went 2 down, we were crossing from these like kind of deep wide positions that are just so easy for Hibs to defend, or any team to really defend for that matter. And it was disappointing to see that, because we're going to go behind more times than just against Hibs this season. So I think the players really need to get the finger out and really have a thinking. If they go a goal down, rally everyone together. It's only one goal, and go again. Don't make the same mistakes, and just keep carrying on. Believe in the game plan, but any belief sort of just went out the window for me every time we conceded, Jack.
Yeah, you just have to continue to play the way that your style is. I mean, if it only takes one goal to completely disrupt your style and just revert you back to this non-footballing team, I mean, that's not going to get you anywhere.
No.
You really need to consistently try and work the balls into the box. I know people say, "Oh, don't try and pass it into the net or whatever," but the way the style that our play is and the way that it should be is getting better chances. But this crossing from miles away or long balls up and stuff like that, it really isn't the style or brand of football we want to play. So you need to have that urgency and keep that tempo all the way up, no matter what the score is at the end of the day. Because then if you keep that, I feel like we slip and regress into this non-footballing, and then once something happens, or if there's a bad challenge, or if we score a goal, then it comes back. But then it takes something like that, which is extremely rare, or it's harder to do when you're already regressed all the way back. So you just keep the playing the way that you're playing.
Yeah.
Goals do happen against you, but just keep going. Because mistakes, players can make mistakes all the time.
Yeah.
But that will sometimes lead to a goal. But you need to keep playing the way that you're playing.
Yeah, exactly. There's no point in us conceding and just hitting the panic stations and just reverting back to, like you say, this non-football. We need to have belief in the game plan and execute it no matter what the score is. A couple of really good messages coming in here. Craig, Loyal Cameron, and Dixie Enormous. What are we looking at here? Do you think Goldson should be dropped after his performance today? By the way, we're gonna work through these messages bit by bit. There is so much to discuss, obviously, but Jack, I think we answered that one earlier. Sometimes dropping players can do more harm than good, and you actually, considering that was the kind of primary partnership that took us to 7 clean sheets in a row. I don't see the point in dropping Goldson or Hollander for that fact. Maybe after a string of bad performances, but I mean, it is only one game.
Yeah, too many people are quick to suggest that if there's 2 goals conceded, then you drop a centre half, or if that's Hollander, or if that's Balloon, or if that's Goldson, whoever.
Yep.
But they never look to where the goals actually stem from. I think it's probably because of the fact that we don't have much choice in terms of midfielders to drop. But yeah, I think it's unfair to drop any of them.
Yeah.
It would be the same as dropping McLaughlin because he's conceded 2 goals. I mean, some things they can still play well through, even if they make one error. One error in 7 or 8 games isn't that big a deal. I think loads of people were raving about Goldson last week and all the way last few weeks. So no point dropping someone, and it will just hinder his confidence going forward. I think he's I think he's a mainstay anyway. So
I totally agree with you. I think Connor Goldson is one of our more vocal players in the park, and he is one of those players that can kind of get us G'd up and all that. So yeah, I'm absolutely with you on that. Jones is better than Barker. Just really annoyed it hasn't worked out. Bit frustrating, of course, given the seeming lengths we went to get him, but we just don't know where Jones' future lies at this stage. The fact that if we beat Willem 2, we will more than likely be playing Galatasaray, they really need to pull the finger out. I mean, that is if we get through Willem 2, we need to take one game at a time. We can't be getting ahead of ourselves and thinking about glamour ties before we even get the job done. And make no mistake about it, Willem 2 will be a very tough test for us. Knew the Kent chance would bite. Oh wait, sorry, what are you saying, Jack?
Yeah, just on that, my opinion of obviously European football, I don't really care that much for us.
This season,
but yeah, the truth is, like, as it always is, our team suits playing against European teams.
Yep.
And that's why I have full confidence that we'll be fine. I know that obviously we struggled against Hibs today, but it's a completely different game in Europe. You don't get the fouls, you don't get the poor refereeing, you don't get the non-football, you don't get the low block, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and obviously players will be back by then as well. But I think we'll go through those. I do. But the main thing is obviously the league, and that's where our concern should really lie. I don't really care about Europe as much.
There's no. I completely agree. I don't. I think it's hard for our current Rangers team to pull anything from our league performances that can be used in the way we think towards a European game, because ultimately approach is different. Like you said, there's so many variables that just totally go out the window when we're playing against European teams. There's more space to play in. So there's. I think it's our domestic issue, or domestically it's where we're going wrong here. So.
The thing is, we can laugh at Celtic or whatever every time they get put in the Champions League, but at the end of the day, I would rather be terrible in Europe and win leagues, and just be better domestically all over. That's just the way that you'd prefer. So I think that too much is made out of Europe anyway. We're not going to go exactly to the final or anything like that, and we have more important stuff to focus on anyway. So
definitely
something that I don't feel that they're really that connected when you put Europe and domestic together. I think we can play like we play against Braga, beat them, and with relative ease in a sense. And then we can go and struggle against St. Mirren. Do you know what I mean? They really aren't connected. Two completely different styles. I feel that our style is more suited to Europe, but I would rather it would be more suited to being a low block. So
there's no correlation at all from the European games and the domestic games. That's where I feel with under Walter Smith, how often would you see him play a 4-4-2 against a domestic team, really pile the pressure on in that manner, try and get balls into the box and things like that with two forwards, but then change it up in Europe, go a bit defensive. It's just, the style of football may not have always been the prettiest, but when we needed to change it, we changed it. And that's, like you say, Jack, our style of football suits Europe, but should we be developing and cultivating a style or a setup that suits the domestic games rather than just doing a copy and paste,
I think they look to create a style that would beat Celtic, and it does work against Celtic. I don't know if it will this season, but it has, and it certainly makes us better. And obviously, we get more players, then it's even better. And unfortunately, that also suits Europe, but it doesn't work for St. Mirren's or Hamilton's, where the low block is in for 90 minutes. So I'd rather be able to beat every other team in the league than Celtic, as long as we beat every other team in the league.
No, I'm with you. Right, there's a few wee messages coming here, guys. Thank you once again for all your involvement and engagement. Do keep your messages coming in. It gives me and Jack a lot to talk about. I mean, we already talk a lot anyway, but it gives us even more to feast on right here. I would like to know how the linesman missed the offside when he was looking right at it. I mean, there's just a whole separate issue of refereeing we'll get to another time, or later on perhaps in the show. But that, I mean, okay, fine. Yeah, the call for the second goal was a joke, but we move on. We can't. Yeah, fine. We don't get help from the referees, but still, we had chances in the game to win the game, and we didn't take them. Players from other SPL teams make mistakes like Goldson's every week. It's because Goldson's had such a high-profile club that he doesn't get away with it. Exactly. We are constantly under the microscope, and when one of our even across the road at Celtic, any of our players, when they make a mistake like that, it's just in the press for how long, it's in the media for how long. Look at this ridiculous mistake, retweeted about 1 million times, and that's it. And like you say, Dixie, mate, like you've seen those kind of mistakes throughout the league, and it's normally when you'll see, for example, I saw the highlights of the Celtic game last week, and we saw, what was it, like a ball go over Shane Duffy's head. He thought there was a other centre-half going towards it. He totally misjudged it. That mistake, it doesn't get the attention it does because nothing, or the attention a Goldson mistake would, because nothing came of it really. So you're absolutely right in that other mistakes that occur up and down the league just don't get the same coverage. Do you think that's... Oh, go on, Jack.
Yeah, it's an important point, because I think it's easy for the media to kind of cloud our judgment and make us kind of divided into thinking that, Goldson's terrible or such and such is terrible, and they do it for Celtic as well. They'll pile on the kind of pressure and say, Forrest's terrible or whatever, and he can think that too. But I think it's important that we also look at it and say, with your own eyes, do you think he's consistently bad, or is he just one mistake? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Because it's if McLaughlin made an error, I wouldn't, even one error, I still wouldn't want to drop him. No. Do you know what I mean? You have to consistently be bad, or be bad over 90 minutes, and Golson was bad for one point. Do you know what I mean? One mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what the media is so good at, is dividing the opinion, causing stir-ups, causing controversy. It's important to, as fans, believe in what you believe. Don't listen to what the media say. If there's a Connor Goldson error that's shown up in Sky Sports or retweeting it or whatever, I don't care. It's like you judge Connor Goldson how you want to judge him. You don't listen to what other folk are saying, because ultimately, look at where the partnership has got us so far this season: 7 clean sheets, and yes, shambles today defensively, and we need to learn from it. But there's no real reason to drop anyone right now. That's the message from me and Jack anyway, and it has to be over a certain period of time. If a player's playing consistently badly, then there you go. That's reason to drop somebody, give them a breather, and make them think and reflect on their performances. But I mean, one performance out of how many this season? I don't know. What else do we have here? We've got a big question from Cameron there, but I don't know if it's even worth considering at this point. I'll maybe get to it in a second once I just see a couple of other messages here. He sounded gutted in his post-match interview. That was Steven Gerrard, definitely. Yeah, he sounded very deflated. And Jack, do you get the sense that if he was on the park, then he would be the one trying to rally everyone together and get them kind of focused on the task at hand? Because I know what you mean about, like, you know, not having one of those big bullies in the park, but apart from the likes of maybe Goldson or Tavernier, I'm not seeing anybody in there really like getting everybody going and screaming at players to get the standards up in that.
But at the end of the day, that's his job too. He's a manager. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
what's he saying? At the side of the park, what's he saying? In the changing room, he is meant to be a motivator, and he can do that in a number of ways.
Yep.
But, you know, at the end of the day, you shouldn't have to do an Istanbul all the time or whatever. That's not as if he won numerous leagues or any at all. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, you need to have someone. It's not all down to the players, and I think that too much is made of the players and how vocal they are. I think it's important that we can get the personnel in first.
Yeah.
So
that's absolutely it. I mean, we can't be. For what it's worth, I do think we've got players in the park that do. We do have leaders on the park, but I think it's just that at times making themselves heard. And you're right about the gaffer as well, because how often is he screaming at the players?
I think he sounds a wee bit too deflated too often. I think that when Kinsey sits down into his dugout and he kind of just goes into a shell himself.
Aye.
I prefer to have someone a wee bit more. Obviously, I sit right behind the dugout in Ibrox usually, so I can see his kind of body language, and I'm not going to read into it. I'm not kind of some kind of psychologist, but it isn't positive when we concede. I mean, it isn't positive in a sense that he never actually goes out to G up the players.
Yeah.
Never. I mean, really doesn't.
Yeah.
And I know then when we score, completely changes. He's right out to his dugout. He's in the technical area, but when we actually are down or whatever, he kind of goes into the seat. It's not something I actually like. I'd rather see him out there consistently, or not out there consistently. I mean, you really have to. It kind of shows to the players that you're either disappointed or you're low, or you don't have the belief that they can go and win. And I'd rather than that kind of tough style, I'd rather go out in there and try and make them believe in themselves as well, and give them a shout from the side, so you can actually be a leader as a manager, almost on the side of the park.
That's a very, very good explanation there, and we've had a couple of good messages coming in regarding that. And why don't we? I think it's a good time now to come back to what you were saying there. And I think there's a pretty obvious answer to this for me. This is from Cameron Selkirk. Do you think Gerrard stays if he doesn't clinch any silverware in this season? But before we get into it, this is no time to suggest that Gerrard out or anything like that. Yes, there are issues both within the management and the playing staff that need to be rectified, as seen and showcased today. But it's too early for that kind of thing yet. You know what I mean? But coming back to the question, Jack, does he stay if we don't get any silverware this season?
Does he stay? Probably. Do I want him to stay? Would I want him to stay? No. I mean, at the end of the day, the amount of money that he spent is massive compared to anyone in the past. I mean, you look at what would Warburton have done with, that much money. I mean, completely different. The amount of spending that they've had on from anything from the training ground right to the actual playing staff is huge in comparison to what it was before. So I don't any silverware isn't an excuse. And to be honest, I'd still want to win the league. I mean, it really comes down to that, because 3 or 4 seasons or whatever he's been here now, that without any kind of silverware would just be a massive failure, regardless of how good the team plays or how good we play in Europe. It really isn't a cop out, because you're not getting anything by winning in Europe. I mean, you're getting money to spend on players which don't win you anything in domestically. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, yeah, I would want to see him gone, but that's a bit early just now. We can see where it goes, but
yeah, very, very early to be suggesting anything along those lines. Have a bit of faith now, guys. Come on, lots of football to be played, and we got to believe here. You know what I mean? But there are some logical questions to be brought up, and one particularly here from Dixie Enormous. I would love to see how Gerrard motivates players. I can't see him being the hair dry type of manager, and I'm with you in that. If you see the Andy Halliday interview on a podcast on Open Goal, he actually goes on to say himself that Gerrard's not the kind of manager to really like lose his head all that often. He might have done that a couple of times, but you compare him to like an Alex Ferguson or a Walter Smith for that matter. Jack, do you see him as the type to really lose the plot at his players in the changing room at half time, or
not really?
Do you need that? Sure. Do you think you need somebody like that, or can you get away these days with a manager that is quite a different managerial style in terms of approaching things in a very calm manner?
Yeah, you don't need that. Like, that is the truth. But I think that he has to find an identity as a manager first.
Yeah.
I think that obviously he's still in his early days of being a manager, which is not great for us. I think that there's certain managers who are quiet, certain managers who don't go through people. There's certain managers who are quiet but scary at the same time. You don't have to be scary, but I think he has kind of a mixed personality in the sense that he's negative in media, or he'll be angry to the media or whatever, and then he won't do the same to the players. So you kind of have to be a kind of fluid identity for him as a whole before you can judge that. I think I'm not sure what kind of manager he actually is in the change room, but like obviously Halliday had said before, it isn't one to go crazy every game. I don't know if that's what we need. I don't know if our players would either fold or capitulate, or if they would actually respond well to that. It really is. That's when you need to find out if you're a good man manager or not. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Walter Smith used to be a good man manager. He knew exactly what the players would respond to well. If that player certainly needs, a kick up the backside, or if that player needs a bit of motivation or praise or whatever it is to motivate them. Yep. There's certain people and personalities need different things, and that is up to a manager, just as it is a manager in an office, to get the best out of their players and their employees. So I don't know what it is, but psychologically I don't know if we're really at the races just now. So
I think totally. I think that debate really is it's a wider debate. What should the manager be like, and can you get away with not being that kind of manager to lose your plot and things like that? I think that is a debate for what a football manager should be, or a manager in general. And you're right in that Gerrard, I think he's more so the first 2 years, but maybe still now he's learning on the job, especially at a club like Rangers. But there's a lot of things that need ironing out. Guys, I'm waiting to give judgment when we play the Beggars. Football is an amazing thing, how you can turn a game of confidence, etc. My judgment will be made on October 17th. We will know how good we can be. I think that's a very sensible answer right there. Still though, like, of course, the Old Firm is one game, but it's got to be Christmas. We will see where we are. It gives us a longer period of time to look at things and reflect. But aye, Jack, what's your reaction to Robert Paisley there, October 17th?
I don't know, because it depends what kind of players we have, and it also depends. Really, even if we win, I'm not sure if that really makes a difference to us. I think we should be able to, as fans, learn that maybe that doesn't mean everything.
Yeah.
You know how often we've seen us capitulate after beating Celtic, and then going on the winter break, which isn't the thing that is a detriment. It's the kind of mentality that we have.
Yeah.
And also it's the fact that our team is, like we said before, more suited to playing against Celtic in Europe. So it really is. It depends. So
yeah, exactly. I think ultimately the best way to judge a team is, you know, what they win at the end of the season. Come the end of the season, it's hard to judge on one. You can't judge at all on one game or judge by Christmas, because first of all the league isn't even won by Christmas. So we can see where we are, but really it's impossible to judge over such a short period of time. Having said that, it's now the third season, so we need to really start winning things and rectifying the errors that we made in today's game. Jock Wallace would have booted the changing room door clean off the hinges. I'm sure he would have. Regarding the managerial thing we were just talking about there, me and Jack, about the kind of temperament or the approach a manager might take, I think it's needed. This is talking about the hairdryer thing. Some players will become sloppy and think it's acceptable to be mediocre. It's the manager's job to keep them on their toes. I think that's definitely that's what it's a manager's job to decide what's needed for a particular player or a member of staff, a particular situation, and so on. Just dishing out hairdryer treatments for the sake of it is not how you manage. So it's important to assess things, and I think for me, Jack, personally, a good balance is needed, a balance of approaches, because just taking the wee kind of quiet route and of course I think we did well today against that kind of thing. We need to kind of, he needs to find his identity, as you say, as a manager. Jack, are you still there? I think we've lost Jack there temporarily. We'll get him back on though, but I don't know where he's off to. We've lost Jack there temporarily, but I'll get to a couple of your questions there. We'll see if he comes back. It'll be interesting to see how Hibs get along against that lot next week. It will be, and make no mistake about it, although we didn't get the result we wanted in today's game, I will turn that off for now. Although we didn't get the result we wanted in today's game, I think it will be interesting to see how they get on. But they are, to be fair to Hibs, they actually played a good game today. From their point of view, yes, they're dirty, they're not what you call entirely sporting, but they did the job to rough us up and all that, and so it worked for them and they got a decent result for themselves. But for us, we weren't ideal. We need a box-to-box midfielder badly, totally, Alan, mate. A good box-to-box midfielder to come in and give us something different, offer a different dimension, offer something that we don't have already, because like me and Jack have already said, what we have right now is just it's one-dimensional. Glenn Kamara, Steve Davis, Ryan Jack, they all pretty much do the same thing. They'll get the ball, try and look for an incisive pass, but 90% of the time play it to the side for someone else to deal with. And we need somebody to kind of bring us that urgency, because you look at the best teams in the world, they've got a brilliant, they've got good squad depth. Well, not only good squad depth, but a good variety in terms of players that can do different things. And that was my reference to Liverpool earlier on, because Thiago came on earlier for Liverpool and he was just pulling the strings from a totally different angle, different to what they had in midfield already. Like I said, I'm not implying we sign a player of Thiago's quality. I'm saying, oh wait, here we go. Got our man back. Got you back, Chief.
Hello.
Got you back, man. How you doing?
I'm
Welcome
doing
back
good.
to the show, chap. Oh wait, hold on. Can you see me?
No, not right now.
Oh, I'll make you see me then, mate. I'll make you. Hold on. Wait a minute. There we go. I think I got, mate. You got me now, Chief. You got me. There we go. We got Jack back on. Hey, 3 cheers for the Jack. Right. If Tav wasn't captain, who would you make captain? Very good question there. Me and Jack have already had this debate. I personally like having my captains in the middle of the park. For all, Tav might be a really good leader. I just think it's hard to really see the game fully from the right side of the park. So I'd love to have someone in the middle. But Jack, who would your go-to be for a captain?
Yeah, I've said before, I don't really care, to be honest. I mean, like, at the end of the day, you get goalkeepers that are brilliant captains. They're miles away.
That's a good point.
I think that it's whoever is the best leader. And so many people, so many players have came out and said that how good a leader Tav is, and that's who they respect the most. That's who the manager respects, and that's who they kind of want to have that kind of player liaison between manager and players. So if it wasn't Tav, who would I think is most suited? Probably either Goldson or Ryan Jack, but it really isn't something that I care too much about. I think too much is made out of a captain, especially in modern football. You get tons of captains out there that, you know, playing for the best sides that you wouldn't classify as overly loud. I mean, you've seen some really quiet players being captain, so it really doesn't matter. So whoever he can either be a captain vocally, or you can be a captain who kind of leads by example. And I think that's what Tav is. But he is loud too, so I don't know. I don't think as much is made of it as it should be. So
on that, do you reckon it's an interesting point of view there from Jack regarding team captains? I, for one, think it is important to have a good captain. And yeah, you do want players leading by example all over the park, but I think a captain should be someone that maintains the same standards week in, week out. Which, to be fair, I think Tab's found a good level of consistency now. Who is vocal, who's always backing up for his teammates and everything like that on the park. Who's always available. I think and for me, those boxes are all ticked already by James Tavernier. So I think he is a good leader for us. And yeah, to be fair, there is that debate about captaincies now. So. But for me, I'm quite old-fashioned. I like having a good Captain Jack. Captain Jack. What else have we got here? I thought Aribo was a box-to-box midfielder, but seems to play for the forward. Yeah, he's definitely in the mould of a sort of number 10 kind of player. He played a lot in that inside right role for us last season, but I feel like we could have got more out of Aribo if he played in a more central role.
As soon as we put him closer to the box in this season, folk have started to see how good he actually is. But playing him like either left back, it was almost like he did play left back a couple of games. It's just so detrimental to a player of his ability, and it's actually quite offensive considering how good he actually is. And everyone can see it, but as soon as you put him close to the goal, the closer to the goal you get him, the better. It's like the opposite of Kamara. When you put him close to the goal, he gets the fear. So yeah,
gets a nosebleed, mate.
Yeah.
Alan Chalmers here. We play the same week in, week out. Teams will know how we play. We need a different way to play so we can change when teams set up to counter us. I think that's the beauty of a good team. You see, all good teams, they have a sort of blueprint for how they play, but they can chop and change and adjust. How good was Alex Ferguson rotating players for the needs of a game? I still think Gerrard still has a lot to learn in that department. I think at times he'll look at the opposition but just stick with the same 11 and have faith in them. I think sometimes you need a different player to come in and offer you something different. You have to look at the personnel of the other team. I don't know, what do you think, Jack?
There's certain, like for example, a certain left back could be weaker, and you bring in someone like Jordan Jones who might not play a lot, but
exactly.
There's certain games. I think last season we've seen a lot. He's just too rigid in the formation.
Yep.
I think that why couldn't we play that 4-3-3 in Europe and against Celtic or whatever, and then play a 4-4-2 or whatever style you want to play, exactly. 3-4-3, whatever, against the smaller teams. I don't see why that is so confusing or hard to do. I mean,
I know, right? It's not rocket science. Sorry to cut you off there, mate. It isn't rocket science, is it? It's something I'm so passionate about. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, so it really isn't that hard. I mean, it should be something that you can do. We can change week out. To suit the opponent. I mean, to learn two formations. I mean, if you look at NFL, you're learning a million formations and a million plays. Exactly. So I don't see why there's such not a lot of onus on players to learn formation.
Yeah, I think they could do it, mate, 100%. Oh my god.
But
I just don't understand that. Like, you're a professional footballer. I mean, I know it's not down to the player, but like, the thing is though, Jack, like when you're doing these your coaching badges, I've done a few coaching badges myself, and on the courses you get taught how to coach. You don't get taught how to manage. You get taught how to set up a team, how to do this, how to do that, but in terms of actually using your players and using your squad, it's called using your squad. You don't get taught that, and I think that's something that all good managers have in their arsenal. They look at their squad, assess what they need for the coming game or the coming fixtures, and think ahead. Right, I'm going to use him for today's game, but then, like you said, okay, right, they've got a weak left back, right, or right back, whatever it may be. So, right, I'll use him instead of him. he might be suited to this. I mean, like, how often, Jack, like, would we see Walter Smith play? He'll play the two up front. He'll play Kenny Miller and Chris Boyd up front in the league, and then in Europe, play the Kenny Miller on his own. Boyd isn't really suited to the European game, and he would do all the running up front. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. It's just, but there's this. I don't know if it's just tactical naivety or just flat out ignorance from our manager or managerial team just to stick with like what we know every time. It's like somebody that just doesn't. Oh my god! Like it's almost like this kind of like fear of like stepping out of what we know. I don't know, mate. Like But I mean, the thing is though, he's quite happy to lump on strikers after the 80th minute when we're chasing the game. So why couldn't he do that earlier or from the start of the game? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I couldn't believe that Kamara and Davis lasted so long. I think that it is crazy. I think that the thing he focuses the most and the whole managerial team focuses the most, and I get it, is defensive shape. And when people go forward, like as in when Barisic and Tav go forward, your Kamara and Jack then drop into the left and right back area, and I get that. And I think obviously they're trying to play that so often that it becomes kind of muscle memory for the players, and they know the style, they know the system. But you need a plan B. It's the same as Warburton, but just kind of on steroids in a way, because they had plan A and then they had no plan B. But you really, really, really need to have the style to change it up, and that doesn't mean sticking to strikers up top. It doesn't mean putting a big lump on it at striker. It doesn't mean playing with loads of wingers. It really just means a different style, because a different style can really unlock a team, and you have to be able to have at least two styles that are formations, because different teams play it different ways. You know what I mean? That kind of carbon copy of the same team every single week. Not only is it easy to suss out, but it's also doesn't work against every team.
Exactly. You know something as well, Jack. Sometimes, right, a lot of folk might think of me like, what the fuck? But like, see, sometimes, mate, like, see if you're playing against two defenders that just don't look solid. Sometimes just a simple long ball tactic can get you up the park. You know what I mean? Like, it may not be pretty, but if it gets the result, then who cares? So yeah, I mean, pretty football all we want, but we can't expect to walk the ball into the net. Morelos is starting to click back into gear. I hope he stays. Something, I'm totally eating all my words. I think he's looked fantastic last couple of games he's been involved in. He looks a lot sharper to me and hungrier to me as well, and I'm sure Jack thinks differently, but and it was great to see him get on the score sheet once more. I think he did well today, given he didn't really have that much to work with. But Jack, how big would that be if Morelos were to stay this season in a fully fit and fully focused Morelos at that?
It'd be massive. I've said it from the start. I mean, I don't think it's a case of he dropped off. I don't think it's poor. I mean, it was the start of the season, and he was getting linked away, and he was getting dropped, and not even in the bench. At the end of the day, for me, I think it's quite simple. He is our best striker. Do you know what I mean? I think that players, obviously, as soon as Roof got injured, I think the fans realised that maybe we really need kind of Morelos, and it isn't a finished article, and Defoe's old. Do you know what I mean? So I think for a season like this season, we really need a striker who is on the same level as Edward, and he's the only one that we have that is. So as simple as that. It's not something that I didn't expect. I think Morelos is by far, in a way, our best striker. So it's not something.
Yep. No, I'm with you. Cammy Selkirk, I'd love to see us try a 3-5-2 with Borna and Tav in the wings. That'd be very interesting, given the way that we play naturally is to get our fullbacks high up the park and playing as wingers. We kind of play that way anyway, but without the two up front. We kind of play, you'll see Davis dropping into the kind of quarterback role between Hollander and Golson, and then you see them pushing up down the wings. So it isn't too dissimilar from what we play, except the two strikers, which is something that I don't normally go for or bite, but I think given our personnel, I think two up front wouldn't be that bad. It's not something that I usually like to suggest or something that I actually go with, but I think if you had Roof and Morelos up front, I think, or even Roof and Etten, depends who it is, I think that would really suit us, and I think it's something that we could definitely try. It's something that Celtic are willing to try. It's something that loads of other teams are willing to try, and it works for them. So I don't think it's something that we should be shy or hesitate to try if you have the personnel, because at the end of the day, you need to work your formation around what personnel you have, and that's what makes you a good manager. You don't just kind of chew them.
don't try and shoehorn them in like Haji into right wing or whatever.
Yeah.
They should have found a way in to play both Haji and Kent without having Haji on the wing. So yeah.
You know something? See with the 3-5-2, I think that would give, depending on the shape of the middle of the park, right? We'd have three centre halves who obviously can stay deep for the most part, but I think that would allow our midfielders to actually go and play. I think that's one of our problems right now, is that when our two holding midfielders do drop in, like they're acting as like you say, that kind of quarterback role or whatever it is. They're not really doing their job, and maybe something like a 3-5-2 would give them more license to play and try and cut the lines a bit more. And then you might end up seeing the best of Glenn Kamara or something. So I don't know.
I think ideally in a way you could play a 3-5-2 with Helander, Balogun, and Golston. I don't know what in order, because you have to think about Helander's pace, but I'd probably put him on the left side still, and then Balogun and Golston on obviously middle, and then right, and then if you had Tav and Barisic on the wings, kind of playing that wing back role, and then you have someone like, this is full fitness as well. So if you had Ryan Jack playing the 6, I think that'd be better, and then the two in front of him being Kent playing closer to the front, because he doesn't actually tend to drift. But you give him more of a free role, I think that'd be something that can always do well. And then if you have hopefully a Rebo or Haji alongside them, and then up front you can have Roof and Morelos. I mean, it looks already far more dangerous attack. Whether it's as defensively solid is a different question, but it certainly looks like a more dangerous attack, and someone that we can actually use our players to the best of their abilities, because within the formation that we play right now, you're not getting the best out of Haji, who's a £4 million player. You're not getting the best out of Rebo, who's a great player. You're not really going to get the best out of a lot of midfielders, or even strikers. So there's no point having, for example, it would be better not to have Roof on the bench. I think it's as simple as that.
Yeah, definitely. Roof, what's the update? It seems that he's went for a scan. The initial impression was that he had a little kind of slight tightness in his calf or whatever, but it seems to be a bit more serious now. 3-4-3, I think would be interested, but we can't be experimenting this season, absolutely. But still, we should have kind of focused on trying to develop or cultivate another method for beating these teams domestically. Hope today's lineup was a forced lineup and not a chosen one, because I feared the worst when I saw it. I think that's what me and Jack covered already early on. Interesting one from Alan here. Do you think Europe is the factor because you play in Europe where you fly back, play 3 days later? Does some of the team need another day's rest, do you think? I've got my own personal response to this. I'll ask you in a sec, Jack, but I think as a professional footballer and the salary you're on, I think as long as you're fit and available, you should be able to play fine, without overdoing it. You should be able to play that Thursday, Sunday, because that's what they get paid to do at the end of the day. Yes, they need, certain key players may need a rest if they seem fatigued, but they seem all right to us when we were watching it from the telly. So yeah, and realistically, we are Rangers, and we should be aiming for the Europa League group stages as well, for that wee bit of extra cash flow, that commercial exposure. So we should really be equipped to deal with that. What about you, Jack? What are you thinking?
It's not even so much salary at the end of the day. It's they're playing and training every day anyway for hours and hours. You should be playing Thursday. You should be able to play Thursday, Friday if you can. Then I don't really want a player who's not got that engine to play for us. Further down the line, after an aggregate of games, multiple, 10, 15, 20 games without a rest, then yeah, 100% I get that. But against teams where you can rest players and at the start of the season, or maybe in late December or later on in the season, then I understand that. But at the start of the season, you really shouldn't be concerned about that, especially against a smaller team or whatever. You can rest players. I don't think that it's nothing really to do with tiredness. It's more just personnel at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, if we're Rangers, we're expected to challenge on all fronts. It's the job of the managerial team to recruit, to be able to cope with the fixture load. which we're inevitably going to face I mean, we have faced it the last couple of seasons, but I mean, this season in particular, it's going to be very difficult. So, but that's something that our players should really stand up to the challenge for, and they should be really in the mindset. And as a footballer, it's good. It's good for both footballers and fans, provided you're not injury prone and you're not overdoing it. But to look forward to games that come thick and fast. Like when I was playing football, I would be buzzing if there was like a quick turnover game on Saturday or Sunday, then a quick one in midweek. Like nothing better than that, because if you've had a shocker like we did today, or maybe not so much a shocker and just a disappointing result, you've got the chance to move on Thursday night against Willem II or Willem II. So simple as that for us. Colin, Richie, we were back to our same old last season. Missed chances, should have killed the game, then give a terrible goal away. I mean, we created chances. I don't think we created as many chances as we should have or needed to win a game of football in the SPFL. Still had some clear-cut chances that we should have taken though. Jack, do you reckon that's a decent sum up right there? Back to the same old, or missing chances?
Well, yeah, like what I said earlier, the team itself was the same old squad that we had put out last season, so you have to expect the same old results. In terms of chances, we had quite a lot, especially kind of clear-cut ones like Arfield's ones, like Morelos missed a really easy header. The Hollanders one wasn't as easy a header. Kent had a decent chance that got saved. But there's a few more than enough chances to put the game to bed. So yeah, it's what you said, but the squad itself and the team sheet that got put out was the exact same as last year. Arfield, Kamara, Davis, you expect the same results.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. We need to improve. Jack, I was just thinking to myself, do you think this system of deploying two holding midfielders but then they revert to fullbacks, do you think that's overcomplicating it? Because for me, the one thing that appeals to me about a 3-5-2 is that there seems to be a simplicity to it that I think would work. We'd have three clear defenders and midfielders in the middle that would stay in the midfield presumably, and that would give our midfielders, take the pressure off them defensively, knowing they've got a bank of three behind them, and let them play the ball forward a bit more. Do you think our midfielders are? Do you think their task is a bit too? I mean, yeah, they need to. They're intelligent footballers and all that, but I mean, do you think we're getting the best out of our players by reverting them into fullbacks almost when our fullbacks got the park?
No, I don't. Especially if it's a Rebo or if it's someone that shouldn't be playing in a position like that. I think that we probably couldn't play the 3-5-2 before because our centre halves weren't good enough. I think we have a three in Hollander, Goldson, and Balogun that could be more than capable to do that. I think what they were trying to do is make the most out of their strengths, which at the time was Barisic and Tav, and it still is our strengths. And that was the way that they decided to use and utilise those strengths. But I think that an easier way, like you said, would be just to go to a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-3 or whatever it may be. So I think that if you simplify, made it more simple, and put Barisic and Tav as wing backs, it would make it a lot more easier, simplistic, and it would also kind of it has also, like I said before, it has a kind of threefold effect. It also allows your midfielders to be more free. It allows your defenders to be more involved and solid at the back, and it allows Barisic and Tav to have a bit more of a license. Without having to worry about, because you get Tav still gets blamed quite a lot for certain things, but you wouldn't want to blame Tav if there was a bank of three behind them, because then it really clearly isn't his fault, or it isn't Barisic's fault. They still get the blame even though there should be midfielders coming into the sides, but I think a 3-5-2 is an easier option. I think it's one that we finally can do. I'd like to see it happen, or 3-4-3. And it's one that I'm sure, if I remember correctly, Gerrard did use at Liverpool under 20s or under 18s, whatever. And it's something that he liked. I can remember us doing it when Worrell was here. It didn't work, but that's simply because we didn't have the personnel to do it. So
I think definitely we've actually got a good solid set of centre backs right now. Even if we had Katic as well, which unfortunately is missing, that would give us even more depth in that department. But right now, especially, I think we've got Connor Goldson, who, yes, he made a couple of errors today, but he is probably our most vocal defender. Phil Hollander, who's been exceptional for us, bar his error today. And Balogun, who's been great for us as well. I think I wouldn't see any hesitation in putting them into a back three, let them focus on their defensive roles. And then, yeah, like you say, allow Barisic and Tav already playing those advanced positions. Why not just literally make them by default actual wing backs, and then see how we get on from there? Because I don't know, I just feel like sometimes simplicity is just needed, and sometimes it's the thing that gets you results. By overcomplicating it, it might. There's a wee point there about Cameron Selkirk. I think the midfielders have been too cautious, but I mean, is that what Gerrard's asking them to do after all, if they're playing in that holding role, and to allow the fullbacks to get forward? So
at the end of the day, I don't know if they're being too cautious. I think the style of the midfielders that we played today, they are overly cautious. They aren't players that are going to go forward or push forward or dribble or break the lines or whatever. So I'm not sure if they're not really getting asked to do that. It's just the style that they play. So it's up to Gerrard to try and find a player that can break those lines and who can actually do that, because players have different abilities and different toolkits. So it's really up to them rather than the players. So we know our players' strengths, and we know that if Kamara, Davis, and Arfield are going to be in the midfield, you know what kind of game you're in for. It's not going to be a really intrinsically good game of beautiful football, or it's going to be more safe than anything else. So it's as simple as a personnel.
You know something, I was going to make a wee point there on Scott Arfield. I know Arfield's not Jack's favourite player, but I think he may not have the passing ability or the ability to cut a defence, I don't know, any kind of top midfielder that excels in that particular skill, but I think he's the one midfielder we have that does perhaps offer something a little bit different. He makes those runs in behind. We saw him get in behind a couple of times in today's game, and I thought he was one of our best performers today in a group that weren't, albeit very, very didn't perform too well. Don't know what your thoughts are on that one. I mean, I think when you look at Jack, Kamara and Davis, yeah, they all do the same thing. I think one thing I have to give Arfield credit for today was just getting beyond. Don't know your thoughts on that one, mate.
I think Arfield is the closest thing we have to the number 8. I think Arfield, if he was younger, would be good enough for us as a number 8. He's not a number 10, he's not a number 6. I think that is probably why he's starting to maybe look a bit better for us, because we really are crying out for someone of his position, but better. We really just did not have any number 10s in the game today. I know that obviously Mick Beale tries to say that we use 2 number 10s obviously in the shape of Hadji and Kent, but they're simply too far out on the wing and too close to the byline to suggest that they are anything other than a winger, because Hadji through the middle is a completely different player to Hadji on the wing, because he really gets trapped out. He really struggles for pace, and he actually looks like he's a bit more sloppy as well, because he struggles to find passes and stuff like that. And he isn't a really great crosser of the ball either. So even though he's got talent for it, it just isn't his thing. But that's fine. You have to use your players' strengths. So he should be playing through the middle.
Yeah, no, definitely agree with you there, man. We've got some good messages here. We'll take a wee second to get them read out, and if you do have any questions for myself or Jack, do get them sent in. Once again, do appreciate everybody for tuning in and getting your thoughts on the game. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, don't forget to subscribe. It is an absolute pleasure to have you here. We've been having a good discussion for just an hour and a quarter now. We'll probably go on for just a wee touch longer if Jack's not getting started. Are you getting hungry, mate?
No, I'm starving, mate.
All right, we'll call a halt to this shortly then. But we've had some fantastic engagement. All right, William, what's happening? Aaron, mate, how's it going, brah? Just some good messages here. Gerrard been saying it from the start of the season, we need to be more ruthless, and if we do that, we will win most domestic games. We play some really good football, just need to kill teams off. Dixie, you would think by now our refs would be clued on how Hibs are going to play against us, but no, time and time again we're exposed to borderline assaults. I mean, the thing is, I think that's just part of a wider refereeing issue we have in Scotland. I think our problem is that we tried to pin it on like individual referees. Where yes, there have been terrible individual refereeing performances, in particular one referee, but refereeing is not it's not professionalised here. You know what I mean? It's not full time like it is in other countries. It's been like for years now against Hibs. I remember borderline wrestling moves from Hibs when they came to Ibrox and not one was booked. Even Stokes grabbed Jack by the throat and Jack got sent off. Yeah, I mean they do have their tactics, but I think that's part of it is literally just the kind of the heat of the fixture now. You know, like
they get allowed to do it at the end of the day, and our club came out and said, you know, anything else to suggest that it's not allowed. Our club hasn't supported our players, and at the end of the day, it's going to continue. It's this is just the way that Scottish football is. Mentality that is holding us back. It's the one that keeps us back from you know, like other like Dutch countries or Belgium. If you had a professional refereeing system, and you didn't allow difficult situations to occur, and obviously really bad challenges, and players, you'd be able to attract far better players and better caliber players to the league. But as soon as they come to the league, they realise that this just isn't a place that they want to play football. It isn't a place that you're even allowed to play football, in a sense that you're not even allowed to play good football without getting chopped in. And that is the only way that these teams can actually frustrate a team like Rangers or Celtic, is by putting bad challenges in or tactical fouls and stuff like that. So that's what they'll use, and I would do the same if I was them. If I was Rangers and we're in a bigger league and we're allowed to do it, I would do the same. So I don't think there's as much we can say, oh, Porteous is bad or whatever. Porteous was doing what any other one would do if you want to win or get a point or frustrate a team or frustrate a player. It really comes down to how much leeway you give the players or the team as a referee. So too much is given by them, but that's what you have to expect when you have a non-professional body. So yeah.
Exactly. The standards aren't set across the board, across all the different clubs and officials and things like that. Like it has to be all standardised, which it isn't in our country. Even saying all this about refs, we should have won the game today, but tackles and all, we had the chances and didn't. I think that's it. Like, yes, the refs don't help us, but we didn't take our chances. We gave away sloppy goals due to, for the most part, poor defensive errors. And that is it. Scotland is an anti-football country. The national team is just as bad. Oh God, don't get started on the national team. The only change can come from the top, and they look content with the status quo. I think that's a big statement then for Cameron. I think that about sums up the SFA. Fuck the SFA. Fuck the SFA. Literally, down to a T. I don't know anything else. I mean, I was going to go into some Premier League chat, but I think Jack's a wee bit hungry. He's not had his tea yet, so probably going to have to wrap up shortly. But yeah, if you have any last... What are you saying?
I'm strolling the fantasy Premier League that me and Will are in, so Mr. Bears TV is struggling, isn't he?
We need to look at the actual results of it in a minute, man. We had I don't know, who did you had? You had Captain Kane, mate. Imagine if you had Son in your team. By the way, I had Danny Ings in mine. I definitely think he'll get a few goals this season.
How many points did Danny Ings get?
Yeah, okay, right. We get the point. He got 10. He got 10, and no, he got 14. I think actually. Was it 14?
Make it.
I think he got 14.
Mate, Captain Kane got me 38 points. That's outrageous.
That is very outrageous. You know what? I had Aubameyang as my captain, and he didn't even.
Well, I was thinking about putting Aubameyang as my captain, but I was like, I don't know. So, yeah.
Mate, Tottenham seemed to have turned the result round yesterday. Pretty big.
I mean, it's Bale signing. I don't know, because at the end of the day,
massive, by the way, massive.
If you look at the front three, it was Son, Kane, and Lucas Moura, obviously. And Lucas just hasn't been good enough for them. If you put Bale into that, I mean, they're going to be sick up front. They're going to be so good.
As long as he doesn't pick up injuries, mate, he'll be good.
True, but I mean, Tottenham are always getting injured, so I wouldn't make a change with it. No.
Anything else Premier League worthy to discuss before we wrap this up? I mean, who else did? It's just weird. I don't wait. Why did Man United and or Man City as well? Why have their fixtures started in like the second week as opposed to everyone else's in the first week?
Is it? I don't know. Man United.
Man United, that was their first fixture, and then Man City's first fixture is tomorrow night.
That's weird. Yeah.
I don't know why, because everyone else started last weekend. I can't think
I've got
of anything.
I've got a few Man City players playing by the way.
I know. I mean, I regret like a lot of the picks I made. Like I put in like I don't know, because like I wasn't really. Don't know what I was going for. I missed a lot of gems, like James Rodriguez as well. Like you're just kicking yourself with like the number.
I don't know. I thought about subbing him in, but then I was like, I'm not sure. I don't know what it is. Like I'm just not convinced. He's obviously a great player, but I don't know.
Look at his performance at the weekend, Jack. I mean, what?
I know, but something's holding me back, and you'll see why. I don't know why. It'll just come. Right. It'll come to fruition.
No, I get it. I get it. I do get it to an extent, but
also I haven't got any Liverpool players in, which is mental. I don't know why. But
yeah, I've only got Van Dijk. That's it.
You went defensive heavy, so I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I need to change mine to a 3 at the back, just like Rangers, to be honest. Son saved me this week. I bet Son is just a young Sonny. Honestly, Heung-min Son's a beast, by the way. Shout out to the Asian squad. Basically shot the keeper. The keeper saved it, and the rebound fell to Arfield. He hit it. Yeah, that was the Arfield chance. To be fair,
that was terrible.
It was terrible, but like
I would have scored it.
Jacko Tobacco in Scott Arfield's position. Listen, he doesn't finish it on the rebound. He finishes it the first time.
Mate, I would have chipped the keeper.
Mate, I remember you at Fags, by the way. Oh, what a sight, by the way. Honestly, love it, mate. Love it. What else have we got here? The Bale deal. Spurs have probably made a potential season-making I mean, it's a big transfer.
It's a season-making transfer. I think it. In a sense, it might be an FA Cup or a League Cup, maybe. But it's not going to be a league-winning one.
Nah, definitely not.
Well, the Liverpool game, we can talk about Liverpool-Chelsea. That was a wee bit.
Oh, did you watch it?
No, but
all right. Do you want me to take the lead with this one then? Right, Liverpool-Chelsea. I don't know if anyone here watched it. For me, it was a bit of a no contest after the Chelsea sending off. I think. I think Chelsea have got some problems in terms of the way Lampard's managing his players. He's got a goalkeeper there that is just like, to me, he just seems. I don't think he can carry the weight of being the Chelsea number one. But not only that, he seems a bit. I think he just needs a break, and Lampard just isn't giving it to him. And he's got a good number two there in Caballero. I don't know why he's not getting himself on, but like for all the noise made about Chelsea and like all the signings they've made. I don't see Lampard as the man to put it all together. Just with the way he's dealing with the goalkeeping situation, Jack. I don't know about you, but yeah, the game after the sending off, there just wasn't anything in it.
I've said for ages that Lampard is made out to be such a far better manager than he actually is. I don't think he's actually a good manager.
Yeah, mate. I
don't think he's done with that.
As much as I love him, but I carry on.
If you, like we said before, I mean, they've really focused on their attack and they've got some amazing players now, but their midfield and their defence is kind of all over the shop. I like kind of Reece James, he's solid at right back and whatnot. But in terms of left back, obviously Marcos Alonso and their centre backs, I don't put them as any better than kind of like Everton level.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I don't put a lot of midfielders. Obviously, Kante is good. Jorginho, I don't know if Jorginho really suits the team.
Yeah.
It's kind of all over the shop from their point of view. But going forward, unbelievable kind of players. I'm sure it'll click, but I just don't think that they're ready. I think that maybe a season after this season, next season, obviously.
See the thing is,
it'll be better.
Aye, definitely. See the thing is, Jack, I was really confused by Lampard's team selection in his lineup. Like, I don't know if it was down to injury or what, but this just kind of like reinforces my view in that I just don't think I think he's one that just even looks worse than Gerrard in terms of actually like getting himself like a 11 that looks like he can do the job. He's playing decent wee back four there. Midfield three was all right, but his front three I was confused with. Like, he's got Timo Werner, who is played as an out and out striker. I don't think he's ever played in the wing for Leipzig, and he seems to me to be an out and out striker. He was playing on the left hand side. He's got Mason Mount playing on the right wing, and then he's got Havertz through the middle, who Havertz has played through there, but is he more of a kind of false nine than an out and out? That's something else as well, and it concerned me, their front three. I just didn't think, like, I looked at that and thought that there's no chemistry or fluidity there, or I don't think...
It gives me flashbacks, of exactly what you were saying. It gives me flashbacks of Haji playing right wing when Mount playing right wing.
Yeah, literally the same thing, man.
It gives me flashbacks of Itten playing left wing when Werner's playing left wing. Do you know what I mean? I think Havertz is actually would be a decent striker. I think he's probably more of a second striker.
Yeah.
So I think the best way to get the most out of them would probably be to play Werner and then Havertz up just off of him, and then play a kind of 4-4-2, Ziyech or Pulisic, and then Mount in the middle. Ziyech on the right and Pulisic on the left. I mean, that's unreal.
Yeah,
and then Mount in the middle, and then Kante behind or Jorginho behind. But you're going to be all at attack then, kind of thing. But I think you're not getting the most out of your players, kind of forcing them into a front three, which none of them are really in their proper position. So
I know. Chelsea aren't even playing half the players they bought. That is part of it as well. Half of them are injured. Apparently Chelsea have tied up a deal for the Senegalese goalie who plays for Rennes. Yeah, that's right. Saw that too. Seeing as you're talking about English football, Leicester beating Burnley 3-1. Really, right now, I'm guessing Vardy's been amongst the goals. He might be one for the fantasy football. It was a hat trick he got last weekend, was it not? I think Sean Dyche will leave Burnley this season in February. I don't think he will be sat. I think he will leave by choice and take the West Ham job. I mean, I don't know what's going on at West Ham. They seem to have their own problems as well. I think the warning signs just came from me when it was I can't remember the name of the young player that they sold, and Martin Noble just comes out and says it's a disgrace that he was sold. I think that shows something there's just something not right there. What else is there? What results were? What was happening yesterday? Oh wait, Tottenham game earlier on. What was it 5-2? 5-2.
Good result. Obviously, and then Leeds Fulham yesterday 4-3. That's good for Leeds, but kind of underlines the point that they need better defenders.
Yeah, they do.
But no, I love Leeds and I love Bielsa, so I'm glad that they're winning, but against a really, really poor team like Fulham. Fulham are really
going
poor.
Straight down, I think. There's no 2 weeks about it. Right, I've got a 3 in my mind that are getting relegated. Right, I think Fulham are going straight down.
Yeah.
I think West Ham are in contention. Who's my last one again?
Brighton? No.
I was considering Brighton. I don't think West Brom will. I don't like. I know they don't have the quality, really, but I think Slaven Bilic is a good manager. He's a Premier League level manager, I think. Who's the last team? I had somebody else. I was like, I think I was originally thinking Crystal Palace, but then you've got to think about you've got to actually think about who they've got in that. Like I was like, can't be them. No, definitely those two for a start. Fulham and West Ham, I think, are 2 at least. I can't think of a third one right. I need to actually look at the table and decide.
Maybe Aston Villa, but I don't want to see them go down.
Oh yeah, but Aston Villa as well. I know, because they're a Premier League club as well, you know.
Exactly.
We've got Cammy Selkirk going Fulham, West Ham and Burnley. Jack, thoughts on... give us your 3.
My 3 would be... it probably would be Burnley, actually. But I just want to see them out. Burnley, who did we just say there?
Burnley, Fulham and... Fulham, West Ham.
West Ham maybe, but if it's not, then possibly Southampton. You
don't reckon Danny Ings is going to do the job for it? He banged in a fair few for them last season.
Yeah, you're right. They are decent. He's got a good manager as well, so maybe not. But just seeing how kind of them getting dismantled by Tottenham is kind of giving me some bad vibes.
Yeah, like this is the point I was trying to make. Like I tweeted it last night that I think this season has got like everything. It's like I think the top end of the table have recruited really, really well. I think even when you look at clubs like Newcastle and that, I think they've done some decent business.
Newcastle could go.
They could well do. I mean, let's be real here. How Steve was going to keep them up? Like, that's another one I've got in my fantasy team. I've got like Callum Wilson in my fantasy team.
That's the first signing. I don't know why he's Wilson.
I was short on money, man. I just spent my money really badly. Like, see the thing is, right? See when I picked my team, I was like, there's something not right about this, but I just went, whatever, I'll just do it. And then like see like a couple of days later, I got rid of 4 players and like brought 4 more in, and it's still like not what I wanted to be. But I'll get it sorted out throughout the season anyway. and it'll be interesting. Brighton, Villa, Fulham. I think Brighton. I mean, they brought in Adam Lallana, but beyond that, they've lost a couple of players.
They always manage. They always manage to find a way. I like Neil Mopey as well. Mopey is quite good.
Yeah, that's true. Did Chelsea get a man sent off today? Yeah, it was Andreas Christensen, who I just do not rate at all. I think they've got a problem at centre back. I don't think Thiago Silva is not the solution. He's definitely one to have in the changing room. He's not going to play every week though. Yeah, Christensen was sent off for it was a blatant red. Yeah, I mean you probably saw it. Like Mane was in the minute Chelsea started to press Liverpool, it was one ball in behind. Mane was in the chase and he was brought down. What was it, Jack?
I think it's his first red card in his whole career or something.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like the type to be that kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, that's it. I had £100 on BTTS and they took away the cash out option at halftime. Now I know why.
Both teams to score.
You can tell now I don't bet. I mean, to be fair, I think I was saying this. I just think lots of teams in the top half of the table recruited really well. I think it could make for a very, very competitive Premier League season. Even I think at the bottom, I think like teams like Fulham and West Ham and that definitely look like they don't look great to me. But even then, I still think at the bottom end of the table, it's going to be quite competitive too. So I find it really hard to like call where folk are going to go. Whereas like previous seasons for me, I think it was just easy to see who was going to go where. Like Chelsea had a transfer ban, Liverpool and Man City were like the two that were competing for the title. Tottenham had I don't know, they weren't really that great last season. What else? Like Arsenal have had managerial problems and that. So whereas now.
Yeah,
there's real like Arteta's come in, he's changed things. Mourinho, first real season for Spurs, they've signed Tottenham. Everton with Carlo Ancelotti, he's come in, made some big signings. Liverpool and City, Chelsea have recruited as well. Wolves.
I think what you're saying is that they're all kind of on the other side of their kind of revolving, like the kind of transition period. Do you know what I mean? They're all kind of last season. There's probably about 6 or 7 teams that were going through the kind of transition of becoming from an old manager to a new manager or a different style of play. So, and obviously a lot of different players coming in as well. So I think it's definitely shaping up to be a bit more interesting. I think that obviously Man City or Liverpool are in a strong position because they're already at their peak in a sense that they've already got they're already through the transition. They've already kind of maintained most of it and kept most of their players. So. I think that they're in a strong position. I think that obviously Liverpool getting Thiago is just like added that. Oh my god,
that is massive! I love him to bits. I think he's fantastic. He just makes the game look so easy. He's got that flair about him, and he actually works as well. He's normally with a flair player like that, you think, how good is he going to be going like back the way or that? But I think he's got a really good work ethic. What a goal in Leicester game 4-2 now. I mean, what a high scoring weekend for. The Premier League there. Liverpool overpaid for Jota. That is an interesting wee claim. I don't know, what do you reckon? I think Jota's a good player, but
I think it's good
45 million, is it? Good for Wolves, but
I think it's good for Liverpool as well. I think it worked. I think it makes sense. It's almost like the Mahrez signing for Man City when he went.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's just an obvious sign to make. I think it's one that suits them. And same with Thiago. You add 2 little bits of quality, and it also gives you depth as well. So if you look at it properly, you're looking at Thiago replaced Lallana in a way. Do you know what I mean? If you obviously it's like for like sign, but you're getting rid of a player for the wage bill, and you're bringing someone else like that quality. It can only serve them well. So
Yeah, 100%. In my opinion, Arsenal will get 4th place. I would back that, to be honest. I mean, it's early days, but I think Arteta's changed the DNA a little bit. He's changed the mentality of the players, I think, and made some decent signings. 1st City, 2nd Liverpool, 3rd Spurs, 4th Arsenal, 5th. Oh yeah, I completely forgot about United as well. Yeah, 5th United, 6th Chelsea, Lampard to be sad. That is to be fair, I would find that hard to disagree with. Their 1st City, 2nd Liverpool, 3rd Spurs, 4th Arsenal, 5th United, Chelsea. The Chelsea one I can definitely see because I just don't think Lampard's got the man management skills needed.
No, I think Chelsea are better than United.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's really even. Well, I think for a start, Man United have got defensive problems, but they've not really recruited either, have they?
No.
So that's something else. If we get 55, I won't care if Zambia win the World Cup. I will die happy with 55. I think we all will. But on that note, I think it's time to wrap this up. I think Jack is gonna, if we leave him any longer, he's gonna starve to death. And that is it. But guys, hopefully you enjoyed that one. Don't forget. I forgot to plug you in here. Right, go if you haven't checked out Jack already. I've got his social in the description there in terms of his podcast. Very interesting lineups coming your way, an interesting podcast with very interesting people, interesting topics, just interesting overall. Go and check the man out. Once again, thank you very much for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed already, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next week then. That's yeah, type away. Check out their socials and all that. Right. Okay, just before we go, Mr. Al Hadji, first City, second Chelsea, third Liverpool, fourth